G'day punters, welcome to the deepest of the dives. It's a Monday morning, maybe a little bit more towards Monday midday if you're over east, but I'm not, so I'm going to refer to myself here. And Jack Dickens and Shane Ciurleo are joining me to talk about, well, we're going to talk a little bit about the golf. We'll mention a bit about our old mate St PVL up there in New South Wales, and there's plenty of racing dribble to go through. Some really good Q&A though, so I suggest you either skip forward to that or stick around for it depending on what you're inclined to do. But Jack Dickens, the caddy, 3 winning sets in a row. You get the feeling that when this young man with a beard that worked previously for one H. Gilmore lobs, he is going to lob in a big, big way.
Yeah, I was sort of speaking to him, like we haven't really nailed one yet, and he's 5.9 units out, 8.2 back at the Open. That was 2.8 out, 3.4 back in the outrights, and 3.1 out and 4.8 back in the props. But yeah, I feel like we're not, there's upside, and it's really exciting because it's pretty cool to wake up to more money in your, like probably your Betfair account, wouldn't it?
Oh, it's always nice, but I also lose track of what my account's doing these days. You guys.
I actually knew, if we want to quickly just talk about football, because I had the day off yesterday. Basically, just did shit around the house with Dars, started a fire, like in a fire pit thing, and I would have cracked my first beer by like midday. Real Simo vibes, and was pretty pissed by the time the footy started at 6:10, where the Swans started $1.60, and I thought, well, why not? I've had a big week, and I had a fair bit on them. Then GWS kicked the next 8, so I had to chase that price all the way out. And God bless the Swans, God bless Betfair in play, on sport, just God bless football. But I knew what I had, is my point, when I went to bed.
Yeah.
I was good, man.
I need to ask the Barefoot team there tomorrow, because are the Swans the most informed team in the comp at the moment? A lot of the other ones are just getting a little bit shaky. I reckon it's the Swans and Geelong are clearly the most consistent over the last couple of months.
Well, we knocked off the Swans. Well, we knocked off the Cats. We knocked off the Dogs. Knocked off Brisbane. We didn't beat Melbourne, though. Curly's team. How do you think your boys are tracking, Curls?
Oh, look, I probably wrote them off 3 weeks ago, Jack, and I was concerned with post-race comments from Oliver. What's his name? What's his first name?
Clayton
Oliver. A little bit concerned with his post-race comments where he said we just played better against the good teams. Sort of says a little bit of where the mindset is there, which is a massive concern, because they were playing to go a game clear on top, and they got run down by the most pathetic list running around on an AFL park right now in Hawthorn. So they're in a lot of trouble. But I think I keep coming back to the point. I think Geelong are favourites, because I think they have big time players that have been there and done it and stand up on big occasions where the other sides might lack that a little bit. And I think that'll count a lot in September.
Dicko, do the Swans have a bit of 2008 Hawthorn about them? Is that fair?
They have a bit of more, which I hate to say this, the 2016 Dogs about them. Mm. Like there's no expectation on them. It's all like a bonus bet. It's just fun. Like nothing's expected of them. But it'll come down like it does most years, especially this year, because it looks so even. Like if Clayton Oliver gets injured, or Hawkins goes down, or Selwood, or Dangerfield, or Buddy, or those teams are pretty much fucked. Exciting for me as a Swans bloke last night was like the game was in the balance, and like Errol, who's like a first year player, and the Lizard, like they sort of sparked him. It wasn't like the big senior blokes who churned him into gear. And I think they were entitled to have a slow start. I thought we were a chance of getting rolled anyway, but pretty like trying circumstances for both sides there last night.
Yeah,
like
madness,
3 blokes played the day before. Yeah, it is absolute madness. But Queensland is certainly Australia, if not the world's most livable. Like they just keep doing stuff, don't they?
Queensland always moving forward.
And I look
always
on
moving
that.
forward.
On that, don't you look forward to in a couple of months, or probably in a month, when it sounds like a few of the biggest countries in the world might be shutting down again? and all the post-race tweeters who were blowing up about the Australian Open being here. Now they're blowing up that we're not open because America's open. I just look forward to reading their tweets in a couple of months when the whole joint shuts down again. And on that, Tokyo, what price would you get? What would your market be for the games to start? They start in 4 days, Peter.
I think it'll start. I'm not sure it'll finish. That's my... I've got nothing to go off, but the people, the locals and the government don't want it there anyway. It's a loss maker. I'm not sure if it's insured. That would be really interesting to know behind the scenes if there's an insurance for it starting or finishing. Because I'd say if that's the case, it's almost certainly not going to finish.
Well,
and Curls, any thoughts on the cardboard beds?
Look, I've got a lot of thoughts on the Olympics, but my thoughts right now are with Anastasia Palaszczuk as she represents Queensland in our bid for the 2032 Olympic Games in the Sunshine State. So I wished Anna all the best on Twitter. She inboxed me.
Well, she gave you your jab, didn't she? Or was it the other way around?
Yeah, I jabbed her.
You need more than a cardboard bed. Need a reinforce.
Look, it's interesting. Like, I don't know whether it'll go ahead. Like, something's going to go wrong. Like, I hope a high-profile athlete will get the COVID, or something's going to go. It'll be a calamity. This, so
how do they get it though? Shouldn't they all be vaccinated?
I don't know. Well, the Australians won't. They have to be vaccinated to be there. I haven't looked into it enough. The only thing I've looked into is where I can find a bet. Really, haven't been reading anything about COVID in the Olympics. Surely there's an edge there somewhere.
You haven't read anything about the cardboard beds that you've been talking about all the time.
Oh, I've seen the tweets about the cardboard beds, but beds are made to be broken, Jack, just like rules. So I'm sure they'll be flaunting the social distancing rules there. The fit athletes over there.
Imagine the paper cuts you'd get midway through. You'd have to have a tourniquet hide. You'd get the belt that's hanging off the side of the bed and have to use it as a tourniquet midway.
This is real insight for you guys.
Imagine, look, all they'll be is, they talk about PVL being innovative with racing in New South Wales. All the athletes are going to be is a little bit more innovative of how they get the job done.
Well, speaking of PVL, wow. More pop-up
We
races.
have really segued really well today.
Okay, so we've got the invitation, which is great because it sounds like something that, as I said on the Sydney preview, it sounds like a Seinfeld episode. But I really want to know who's going to be in charge of deciding which horses get an invite.
The same blokes always win or keep winning. This is an industry and a game that suits the narrative for a group of people. And if you're watching this, it's not you.
Also, if you're talking on it, it's not us or you.
Their turnover, if you compare, on like say Betfair, I don't know because of that, for whatever reason, they tax it heavier in New South Wales than Victoria, so that's going to affect the numbers slightly. But as PVO will tell you, most punters aren't price sensitive, so the numbers speak for themselves. That their product is struggling for turnover versus the biggest state, which is Victoria. Their racing is pussy, and there's 10 races of shit, and it's almost unwatchable. And I don't understand. Like, if I was invested in that state, I would want that money spent to invigorate the day-to-day, the Saturdays in the winter tracks to make the product better. Like, I would argue pretty firmly that the Everest has increased turnover. I'm sure of that on that day, but the rest of them, like the Spread Eagled and the Bondi and the Clovelly, they wouldn't be moving the needle turnover wise versus what's like already happening. Like if I run Victorian racing, I'd let them have their big days and I wouldn't compete with them. I put my smaller days on the back of it. because there's enough eyeballs. They're creating the eyeballs for your product that day.
Yeah.
This warring is it's wasted money, and it probably proves that the punters just get rorted again because they've got too much money. You spend money loosely when you got heaps of it.
Mm.
It's poorly invested money, surely. What do you guys think?
So I think it's bad enough getting to Flemington for Derby Day at 11:15. Can you imagine trying to get to Randwick or Rosehill for 11:15 week in, week out because they've got 10 races, and as you said, 2 or 3 of them are just complete and utter shite.
And they know, though, they're turning it into a poker machine. They know what they're doing. Mm. They're not putting the shitty highways in the midway at the start, so you can watch them if you want. But if you're not a complete degenerate and you just want to come for a normal outing with your family, come at race 4. They're good races to start then. Nah, they filter them through because they think that you're sick enough to just keep
feeding the machine like it's dying of thirst.
Curls?
I don't really know. Like, I suppose he's just executing his role and representing the people that he's working for.
It's working well in rugby league, though, isn't it?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know. Rugby league's completely gone anyway. Like, if you couldn't bet on it, you wouldn't watch it. It's as simple as that. It's unwatchable. And it's not even a national sport anyway. It's played in New South Wales and Queensland, and the rest of the world doesn't give a fuck. So lucky you can bet on it. If they banned betting on it, you wouldn't watch it. Well, that's just me anyway.
They're trying to.
You'd watch Origin.
Yeah, you'd probably watch Origin, and when Queensland win, you're a Queenslander, and when New South Wales win, you're a Victorian. I don't know whether Betfair is the right... It's the only measure you can get. I don't believe Racing New South Wales publish turnover figures anyway, so I think Betfair is the only guide that you can use. Now, it's a multi-layered sort of question because you use Betfair as a guide to look at turnover, but then you look at Betfair versus other betting platforms, and you know that Betfair don't get the people that like a sports bet, etc. do, right? So your general run-of-the-mill bloke isn't using Betfair. But the volume's there for the people that bet more volume. Bigger dollars would be on there for sure. And so they've spoken, right? Race 1, which is at 11 a.m. when you're still wiping the sleep from your eyes, still has more bet on it.
PG version.
still has more money traded on it than a highway because the highways are dog shit races. So. If we're talking about Betfair being reasonably informed money, they speak with their wallets there. It's not an attractive race to bet on. And like you said, it's just an equine poker machine now, the product in New South Wales, and it has slipped, and it is hard to watch on a Saturday because of that dilution. But that's not appealing to a racing crowd. That's appealing to the victim that they're targeting, as PVL rightly said in that documentary they made about Harold Park trots 20 years ago. We've got the pokies in here because the husbands bring their wives and they go and play the pokies and they bet more than the husbands. It seems that sort of mentality is sort of coming through in the product now that they're offering, in my humble.
It's appealing,
and the rest is just hype.
Yeah. But I don't think it's in like... Yeah, but I don't think anyone really reads the propaganda machine. I don't even read the ones when it's a positive. Like, I don't think that he is acting in the best interest of New South Wales either. I don't really care as well.
It's
the second point.
Yeah, I don't really care. I just want to bet.
But I don't want to bet on Sydney. I follow the boys in and I sort of just read the chat room and see if we've won or not. Well, my frustration is as a racing participant and someone who comes to the game with no pedigree, like no one I know grew up with gambles or owns horses. I don't know anyone in my family who has anything and still doesn't have an interest in it. And if I was to tell someone to get involved in it, Yeah, well, I'll give you my betting advice. You should watch that on 7mate or racing.com or 529. And then Peter's stuff, you'll need Sky 2, which is a Foxtel channel. And then if you want to bet Curly's stuff, that'll be on 5 to 8 in the day. But then they'll put on some replays of the Sydney races when he's betting at Toowoomba, and that'll probably be on 5 to 6. So, yeah, I'm actually a mounting yard analyst, and so is Peter. So we watch them. I bet you won't see that in Perth or Toowoomba. Like, it's just fucking brain dead. It's really frustrating. Should just be able to go to one joint and watch what you want to watch.
Yep. Oh, look, yeah, we have those issues, and you still see on social media people still complain about Sky's coverage of Queensland racing, and the same people that are complaining and had the opportunity to have an instant input into making some positive change for Queensland when they re-signed with Sky less than 12 months ago. Like, you sign up to the same shit. What do you expect's going to happen? So
it's amazing the amount of Victorians that complain about Sky too.
That's staggers me every day of the week.
Why aren't they watching .com?
Yeah.
Because they want to watch Doomben and Randwick.
Well, thankfully, Jack, that we have John Massara put in place as the chairman of Racing Australia, who would be able to have an impact on these things if they actually held a meeting, because one was due to be held Wednesday that was deferred again. He was plastered across the New South Wales propaganda posters as the potential saviour, and they're still yet to have a meeting. But maybe they'll bring it all together. But while the rivers of gold are flowing, why wouldn't you just worry about lining your own pockets?
Well,
and not worrying about the greater good.
I appreciate you letting me know that, because without talking to you, I wouldn't have read that anywhere else.
Who knows?
But there'll always
be people betting on racing in Australia.
How much of the pie will like sports, esports, American sports take and take?
I suppose you're right there.
Well, hopefully sports bets just
like
down
how do you watch you watch all your footy on the footy channel? You know, you can buy like an NBA league pass. Anyway, fuck 'em.
Okay, let's talk about some racing on the track. Dicko, you want to just give us a quick rundown of what happened there at Flemington? There was a couple of real big punting form figures.
Yeah.
Bartholomew, Diaz.
Yes.
Yes.
I hit it in my Diaz. Hit it in my... Bartholomew Diaz has gone good. Yeah. 13.4 above the all-average benchmark is a proper figure. Well short of his best work too. Exciting performance from this particular pony. On Thunderstruck has run a Group 1 figure of 14.9 above the all-average benchmark. That's fucking enormous. It's incredibly fast. When you watched it win, you knew I wasn't on, and I knew that I was gone before the corner, and then you thought, oh, hang on, maybe it's going to roll around on Jamie because it looks still a bit green. They were speed wobbles. It was like when you're a kid and you're on a skateboard going too quick down the hill and you know you're about to eat shit. That was Jamie on top of this horse because it was going so fucking fast. It did all the work for that big figure in the last 600 metres. Is a very, very big performance. Is a proper horse. A stack of good, strong performances throughout the card, not just the winners. I think this would be a really good meeting to follow. Slight caution is the heavy track and the rain that came through the day, but some really sexy sort of data figures the way I look at it. I thought Furion was enormous. The Good Fight, God bless it. It saved us having a strip, but a good race that I think, and I really like this Senors Express. If you give that one run, it's sort of putting together a really nice little portfolio of performances. Fascinating riders. You just see, if you look at the data, you notice, so there's 800 metres, 14, 14, 2,000, 1,200 down the straight, 16, 16, 28, and 17. So there was a 1,200, 16,000 there in the middle. So races 5 and 7, the only two races down the straight. by far the slowest races of the day. So they've just gone way too slow because that wind's hitting him in the face. So the horses that get to the front feel the wind. They go as slow as they can. Every other horse behind it gets jammed up. That's why I think Kilcarney Royal was in the market. Yulong Storm wasn't. It throws up chaos because it's just not like a proper horse race. They'll go so slow that anything could sort of happen. Froggy knew it. Peach of a ride on Yulong Storm. The wind was coming like into their faces and then sort of across them a little bit more for race 7. So cover was a real big bonus, even though how slow they went, if you could build momentum at the right time. Zorro's Dream, stiff. I thought he made some really poor decisions riding that horse. But I can't follow it again now. I think it's been up for long enough. Express Pass. Somehow the market knew, which I don't think it knew, that the rider was going to be one of the 3 riders to stay on the inside and just cop the full brunt of the win by themselves. It was brain dead and a poor performance all round. I think the horse can be forgiven and can be followed. Was not expected to run a good race the way the market treated it late. And the other thing I thought we'd touch on, obviously the horses to follow is I'm Thunderstruck, Furion, and Bartholomew Diaz. I don't know if the stewards have just changed their tone completely or what's happened here, but they've questioned your girl Carleen for her ride on Lyndhurst and not questioned Tate and Bull on maybe Right Enough. And cheeky little Tio, who was questioned for going too quick 2 or 3 months ago, gave Galgani a fucking peach of a ride in the same race. So thoroughly confused, as I'm sure the jockeys are, as to what they're supposed to do now. They questioned Carleen for getting too far back and being in an impossible position.
Is that the first time they've watched her ride?
No. Well, she
settle down.
She was given instructions to go. She was given instructions to ride for position and not tempo. She did exactly as was what was asked of her. I think the questioning is correct, but the questioning should be that of the stable, not of the rider. She did as she was instructed to do. You know? It's just utterly confusing. I also have, I forgive, and I think I'm sympathetic to Fred Kersley's ride on Dice Roll. He got criticised and hassled and jiggerised for going too slow, or I'm not sure what he was sort of criticised for when he went forward on Dice Roll the previous start. Then they found another race where there was no tempo again. So it's obvious to me that the instructions from the stable, so I don't know if it's Nick Ryan, but Nick Ryan's stable, whoever does their tactics, was to try and get cover. But there was a very, very unlikely scenario that he's going to get any cover without going right back to last. He sat 3 wide, no cover. I saw him getting berated on Twitter. I think that's unfair. I don't know what else he was supposed to do. And, again, a race with no tempo on paper throws up a bit of a wild result. I think there's a little pearl there for everyone.
Yeah. Completely agree. Very good, Dicko. Solid week by the 2 Jacks squad. Shane Ciurleo.
Yeah, nice week.
Queensland or Eagle Farm. Just give us the best and the worst.
Unless Jack just wants to say something about himself there. Pat hit the me-offs on the back.
No, I'm not as good at that as you. Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. We have little lessons. But the main people, we're there, Peter's never done anything flary ever. How many units did you win on Saturday?
23, but that was coming off a pretty flat Wednesday and Thursday where didn't really get any joy.
Shane, how would you have opened the show today if you were Peter coming off a 23 unit win on Saturday?
Slightly different to Pistol. What about a 40-minute segment on how the West was won?
How long would you have spent on Sunday thinking about what you're going to wear?
All day. Would have got the kids dressed up, trunk out. Anyway, back to Queensland. The only reason you say that Pistol hasn't done anything flary, he hasn't done anything flary in public. I bet you he's got a bit of flair after dark.
The leather belt stuff, he went to that pretty quickly, didn't he?
It's a good night Saturday night, actually. I ended up at the hippie club for the first time in about 15 years. But
bit right in too. Like
what'd you drink?
You just got to keep it safe. The further you go, the safer you have to be. So just stick to bourbon and Coke. And I feel like the brown liquor's really just elevating the dulcet tones these days. Soon you'll just hear me narrating like horse racing ads. Sign up now to Something's Indications.
Started favourite at 3 or 4 starts as a 2-year-old. Placed in one of them. Fastest
Queensland.
Excel. Sorry, girls.
Lizzie Jelf said it looked good in the yard, standing for $12,000.
Mother won the invitation.
Once again, I digress. I'm very good at that. Queensland. Yes. Just the quintessential off-season winter meeting on Saturday. We had windy, drying weather at Eagle Farm. Nothing really outstanding. There's a peak figure in the 3-year-old 1,800-metre race off a hot tempo, but not much. Nothing worth talking about.
Big figure.
Was a big figure.
For Queensland.
Look, if I was the owner of that horse, I'd be copy and pasting that figure off puntingform.com.au and sending it to every Hong Kong bloodstock agent going around. That's not a hell of a lot to report there. Some young fellas and girls with their inexperience of the Eagle Farm track. It's a bit of a highlight on some of the reviews that I've done. We're on Cinque Day and Triple Ace. A couple of horses that weren't beaten far and arguably could have won, which would have made it a winning day overall.
What is this? Arguably. The Triple Ace ride was passed. Was he questioned?
No. I don't know. It looked like he rode it like he was unsure it could run a strong 1,200. That's what the ride looked like. I've got no confidence in this horse running the trip. I'm going to cuddle it for as long as I can. I don't know. I mean,
it's one of the races I watched up there, and I was like,
Bad Barista was, I think, we may have backed it at Gatton. It got beat at Gatton at 270 favourite. It got beat at Gatton. It never looked like winning at Gatton. Gets to the outside of the track and blows us away at Eagle Farm on a Saturday in an open 3-year-old. Like, honestly.
and it runs like, it's the worst figure of the whole day. And Triple Ace is probably, I'm tipping, one of the better horses there.
Yeah, it was a bad figure overall. Like a really, really bad figure overall. Like you say, it was the slowest figure of the day.
It's disgraceful. That's why the ride was disgraceful. Like, as a punter, you just want to see them you want to see them stop, not be able to keep going and not win. Like, get the most out of this horse for the punter, please. And the connections.
Especially when you're sitting on a slow tempo like that, and it looked like there's a few other jockeys that might have been on the same horse that we were. But I look at some of those rides, like a couple of them were on speed 3 and 4 deep and decided to grab hold, going 6 lengths slow. Like it was a hard race to watch, and we just never looked like the horse never seemed to. I don't know. Anyway, whatever.
Triple Ace, it's the worst figure of its career. Its previous worst was a 3.2 below the class, or for the class, right? And this is an 8.3 lengths below the class. 8.3 lengths below the class. Wow.
It's all got to do with that. I don't know. Anyway, I could go on forever here because I was completely greyed up after that race.
Are there any horses or something you want to take out of the meeting then?
A couple of jockeys I want to highlight that ride Eagle Farm really well, and I think it's important going forward because we've got a lot of kids that have been given Metropolitan apprentice licenses to ride on these Saturday meetings, which shouldn't be there. So because they claim 3, they're going to get opportunities. Bailey Notiff's ride on Shooting for Gold. Now, obviously it should have won. It was very short, but he's just described him as unflappable in the way he rides that track, and he knows obviously he understands the length of the straight there. So just how he rode that horse, he never asked it for its supreme effort until late. I think that's important for a big track like Eagle Farm, where some jocks can just get a rush of blood and have their horses flat early, if that makes sense, and have nothing left. And you often see the last 200 metres of races like relatively slow because they're all sort of flat and peaked at the 200, where the way Bailey rides is a great example of one that didn't. Another great example was the last race, Brad Stewart on Sea Raider, who led, cut the corner, and then drifted out in the straight.
That was glorious.
A great ride. He was lane 1, and then he was lane 3, and then at the 200 he was lane 6, and he led, dictated the race, and was able to dash away and
I get the feeling that was a real sort of old school class deep thinkers ride, because I remember we were on a Zoom and Roden really got off on that ride. He loved it.
Yeah, it was a great ride. I think they're the couple of things to look. What I'll be taking out of the meeting is that the riders that we're going to be betting into. As I said, there's a few claimers that are going to be riding and getting the right rides too, because they claim 3 and have a bit of a reputation. So maybe these more experienced fellas might be worth adding links to.
Okay.
Going forward.
Well, we'll stick in Queensland for the start of Q&A, because we've got a couple of questions regarding some Queensland trainers. What is Casey Fogden's recent strike rate? And also, any chance you have some Van Dyke stats for recent performances? Seems like he's struggling.
Yes. I'll start with Casey's stats. He's a career 15% winning strike rate, which is very strong. Last 50 striking at 22%, which is big figures. If you're plus 20, I think at any period of time, plus 20 is very, very good going. So I did have a look through some other things there just to try and get some other clarity around those figures. And I think just look at the SPs of the runners, and if they're not winning, they're running well, and which is sort of more of an indication that they're well placed as well. So I think that's pretty strong numbers. And they had one heavily backed runner too. It was another tried horse that she'd taken on board from down south that come to Queensland, Nowitzki, that led and won during the week.
Nowitzki, that Victorian?
I think Kieran Maher had it. Yeah, he did. Kieran Maher had it, I think, and then it's come to Queensland and was first up 13.50 and led and won, and was not like $9 into $4. So that was one that sort of come to mind of another tried horse that has got the job done up here. As for DVD, there might be a little bit of recency bias amongst that feeling that he's not going as well, because he isn't, but it's only just recent. In July, DVD has sent around 19 runners for just the 2 winners, who have SP'd 160 and 220 respectively. So there could be a question of cattle, maybe the type of horses. Certainly have a look at his SPs though. Like they're still getting beat at a short enough quote. That's for sure. But that's July, and I'm sure that he'll find it. I'm sure that they'll bounce back. But there's something to look just quickly on puntingform.com.au. His last handful of runners, all under $5. Most of them under $5. You've got a couple of ones that weren't. Splendor in the Glass in a listed race, and so particularly lately, most of his run has been in the market and sort of underperforming, I'd say. And I think there was another example of that yesterday. There's a couple. couple went around favourite and got rolled again. So 2 from 19, certainly not the David Van Dyke sort of strike rate that we're used to, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's fair to say. Okay, we'll go on to a couple of questions from John Sist, long-term friend of the show. Question: when following betting a staking plan, e.g. 2 units at $5 for a 10-unit return, if you can only get $4.60, should you change the units up to get a $10 return, e.g. 2.2 units, or accept the lower price?
Who, me? You?
Personally, I would stick to the same unit advice. I wouldn't change it up because the way that I'm sending units is based off my rated price. So the actual rated price is dictating the units and not the current market price.
I'm sending units the same way. Obviously, mostly whatever I do, Peter's doing. Whatever Peter's doing, I'm doing. And Jack's doing. I think 5 to 480 doesn't matter the way we send them. So if we're sending something at 5s, it means we've probably got it like 4 or less if it's our stuff. I think the most important thing to do there, though, is whichever way... You can probably argue a few ways to handle that. And whichever way you do decide, just stick to it for at least sort of 2 to 3 months. Don't chip and change because you'll just cause... You're going to have a lot of head noirs. Well, Sisty knows this as good as I do. He's been around forever. But I think one of the most important things is just to limit the head noirs. So, Tookie Pop yesterday, I thought of quite liked it. We backed it last start. Instinctively, I probably have more on it than I did, but the thing just tells me what to have on it. I'll just do it. You know, off my rated price, and that's it. Decision made, job done. I don't think about it again. Yep. You can sort of grow yourself up and waste time thinking, oh, fuck, I should have chased that in. You might miss some. So, like, I just have a set of rules. So if they send it at 5s, I'm happy to take down to a price, and you have a whole percentage system for everywhere. Or I don't only take the price if it gets there, and I'll monitor it if it comes back out.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah, I'm not upping my stake to chase the original stake. Yeah. To chase the original unit return.
How I personally handle it is if I miss one of theirs that come through, which at the moment I very rarely do, but if I do, I do not back it. If it's moved more than sort of 10 cents, 20 cents, I will not back it. And I'll keep an eye on it, and I'll often set an alarm in my phone that'll just ping, and then once it pings, oh fuck, that's right, I missed Curly's thing in race 6 at Mackay or whatever. Because if you're 5 minutes late to Curly's stuff at Mackay, even though they're betting NBLs, you know the Ciurleo fucking army has arrived and has decimated the joint. We need to hope and pray that some other fucker has got a different opinion and can reverse that back out for those of us that missed it. But yeah, quicken the dead.
Indeed. Second question from Sisty. When your trainer has stablemates in the same race, should trainers tell you the chances of the stablemate? It's strange when you get reports that all is well and you're going to win, or high levels of confidence, which is what most trainers say. Strange when your horse goes from $2.40 out to $3.60 and the stablemate is back from $6 into $4. The stable knew, but the owners did not.
Well, I think Darren Weir knew sometimes, but Dennis Pager won the Derby. I don't think they know what they're doing overly. I think they'll say things after the race like, oh, yeah, you know, it's working the house down, expected. They're just saying that to sound smart so they sell more horses and get more people to get them to train their horses. I don't think they know. I wouldn't listen to it.
Yeah, I mean, I can obviously understand the frustration. I think it all comes down to owning horses. You very much need to have a relationship with a trainer that you can inherently trust. Obviously, I haven't owned any horses really in Victoria or New South Wales, so I can't really speak for those jurisdictions, but typically in WA, there's a good amount of trainers that are very open with their ownership group. They tend to have very loyal owners, and as a result, it does make it quite easy to build a strong relationship in those terms. So typically, if you've got more than one horse in a race in WA, our trainers will basically go through their other chances in the race.
Yeah, I'm also implying there that I think they're all pretty honest. They're all trying. They just don't know which one's going to do the right thing. And half the time, you talk to them and say, well, you need to be you have to like put this horse in the race if you want to win today.
Mm.
They say, well, it's ready to win, but it's just I don't think we can get to that position, so we're going to go back. So that they think it's going to win. They don't really know that like they have to be better than midfield to win at Caulfield on Saturday or whatever. But yeah, fuck, it'd just grow me right up. If I ever owned them properly, I'd want to be controlling jockey and tactics, wouldn't you?
I don't plan on training a derby, but then again, I didn't train an AFL team to a premiership, so what would I know?
Mm. Well, I'll let you know in a few.
Peter, how old are you? Yeah, what, mate? We can write our own story, mate. All right.
I feel like I've
do it the other way around though, Curls. We'll train like the Toowoomba like maiden winner, then we'll train a fucking Doomben class winner. Then we'll move south. Then we'll win a group race, and then we'll with all our cash we'll buy a footy team, and we'll coach it.
John's question sounds relatively close to home for me, actually. Sounds like a real life scenario.
Is it?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I think I agree with what you're saying at times, but I also think that trainers are business people as well, and some trainers are very good at selling the sizzle, but have got the easiest of outs. Look, I'm only going to give you positive news about this horse, and then when it gets beat, I'm going to say that, oh, he just did this or it just did that, and we'll get him next time. Forget that run.
Might have felt it in his knees. Might have a wind problem.
Yeah. Anyway,
I don't think he liked it going.
I don't know. I think one of the best things you can do is do not read owner updates if you're an owner about your own horse. If you're a punter, or don't back your own horses to save yourself.
No, or do what Peter just has $500 on every time they run. Doesn't think about it. That's getting back to like don't grow up. Just go yep. Because when the trainer says, "Oh, we're not going to be there today. We're just having a run," and it goes around $20 and wins, you're gonna. Despite you owned a horse that just won first up at 20-1, you want to fucking kill yourself and the trainer and the jockey and the horse, and you're never going to ride it. Never again. None of it.
Point.
That's a bit extreme, but I actually had a very simple mathematical equation to work out when I should back my own horses, which was effectively whatever percentage of the horse you owned to work out what you stood to collect from the prize money. And if your normal stake divided by the odds was equal to or less than the prize money you stood to win. So if you're actually going to make more out of the prize money, you don't back it if it's, say, like a $2 shot. But if it's a $20 shot, you still have the same stake on because you're going to make more than your prize money.
I don't really understand that.
I'll find it.
Just don't be naive enough to work out the same equation and then lay it to win the same amount on Betfair.
Yeah. The week ahead, what have we got in Victoria?
Some fascinating stuff coming up this week in Victoria.
That's good.
We are at Royal Sandown Wednesday with a bit of Gawler, which I won't be betting at Gawler, but I'll send bets in the chat group. Which I think it was Wednesday, I lost 6 units doing that because I did that, and then on Saturday it was a fill up. Anyway. Cranbourne Thursday, we'll try and find something. Mildura is unlikely to. Maybe we'll pick apart a maiden there, but you don't know. Caulfield Saturday and Sale on Sunday with a bit of Wangaratta.
All right.
And then the week after is the first week off in 5 years.
What, in Victoria?
Snow racing Monday to Friday, and then Saturday, the Valley's back.
Oh, my goodness.
In Valley, Sandown, it's fucking glorious the week after.
That's going to be magnificent.
Should be that's a big congratulations to the content creators there at Racing Victoria for having the news cycle for Victorian trainers. Not enough prize money, too much racing, too many early starts, not enough trained staff, not enough races because there's a week off. So we'll get through this one, and then next month we'll be back to Not enough trained staff.
Indeed.
But in Queensland, we don't have that much. We don't have that many issues. We have Eagle Farm Wednesday, which that's the same track that we raced on Saturday. We are racing again on Wednesday.
Play on.
Ipswich Friday. These Friday Ipswich meetings, these provincial Ipswich meetings have been complete rubbish in the last couple of weeks. So I'll be treading warily there, but you just bet when you can, I suppose. And if there's a bet, you still bet. And then Saturday, the usual fair of Metropolitan Brisbane racing this week's at Doomben. And then we've got Gold Coast, Bundaberg, Emerald, Ingram, Julia Creek, Longreach, Mackay, Roma and Toowoomba.
Sounds like a song. In WA, I'll be on course for Mounting Yard Mail on Wednesday. I will not be there on Saturday. It'll be an early set sent out, staking plan. You'll get my top-rated prices, but I will not be updating race by race because I'll be in Margaret River at a Bucks weekend and may or may not live through the week. If I do, I'll be back on course next week for Mounting Yard Mail.
And if he doesn't, we're all fucked. So,
meanwhile, in the country's most locked down state, Wyong on Tuesday, Kensington on Wednesday, Kembla Grange on Thursday, Rosehill Gardens on Saturday, Gosford on Sunday. I think Mark Roden will be picking up the majority of those.
Hasn't the old beat Gladys really put herself in it with a couple of poorly timed quotes? When that she in political terms, has she gone the biggest early crow of all time? That she was 400 out, there was no one near her. She had 30 lengths on the nearest horse, and she just started sitting up on it and just waving to the crowd. And all of a sudden, she's just stopped.
Oh, she's protected from the Murdoch media empire. She gets a lot of free passes.
I can't wait till Poopy Pants isn't protected.
Oh.
You know they've got the Poopy Pants story just buried somewhere. They bought it. Oh, I can't wait.
And on that note,